back to the channel. This is Man United Central. Guys, listen. We're gonna talk about a whole bunch of stuff, man. All right, we're gonna talk about Scott McTominay. All right, we're gonna talk about whenever you're doing this live thing, man, it's tough to manage the lighting situation. You see, this is what you don't see in the background, right? I have lights over here. There's lights over there, trying to figure out, okay, to make sure the light situation is all sorted out. But you know what, man? The show must go on, they say. All right. Because you are here to talk about Manchester United. All right. Okay. We're going to talk about Jadon Sancho. We're going to talk about Scott McTominay. All right. And, all the other transfer situations going on at Manchester United. Right, guys? Welcome. Smash a like. Hit the subscribe if you haven't done so. I'm your boy Luther. Let's get into it. All right. So, according to reports, Manchester United could be set for a busy last stretch of the transfer window. All right. With the deadline day less than 4 days away, guys. Less than 4 days away. Time is running out for United to finalize their remaining summer business. Right. So, time is running away. All right, because it's only 4 days. We already brought in, of course, we know Joshua Zirkzee, Lenny Yoro, Matthias De Ligt, Mazraoui, right? And United have already spent a whopping 150 million so far in transfers, but that amount is expected to rise in the coming days, all right? Okay, who are we all waiting for? I know we're all waiting for, at any moment, for Manuel Ugarte, right? We're all waiting for Manuel Ugarte to be that player that we want to come in, right? So, according to this report, Ugarte is expected to join United as Scott McTominay prepares to make the 25 million switch to Napoli. Listen, this was news that broke yesterday about Scott McTominay basically agreeing a deal for him to move to Napoli, right? And, this was music to our ears, a lot of us, right? Because, listen, we know that we need to bring in funds. And unfortunately, all the players that we have, Scott McTominay really right now is the only one really can bring significant amount in. And with Scott McTominay, when he moves, when he goes to Napoli, that 25 million that we're going to get, 25.4 million, is pure profit because he is an academy graduate, right? Pure profit means that, pretty much that player was groomed, from the youth all the way, and then we can sell him. That money goes into pure profit because of it also helps us in an FFP situation because everything that you do in a team matters. How much you sell, how much you bring in, your ticket sales, where you finish. For example, if United qualify for Champions League, more money comes in, right? So all those things matter. And United, we needed each and every penny when it comes to these transfers going on. And so far, we look like we could be getting some money here for Scott McTominay, right? So according to this report, it's claimed that United have agreed a deal with Serie A side for the services of the Scotland international. But basically, the proposal is subject to all parties being satisfied with the personal terms. From what I gathered from what I saw, from the reports, is personal terms are not an issue. Scott McTominay has agreed personal terms with Napoli, and of course, Antonio Conte at Napoli wants Scott McTominay. God bless, God bless Antonio Conte, because listen, he's basically rescuing us, right? Because we need to get some money in, because in order for us to bring in Ugarte, we need to sell. And Napoli, they look like they've identified Scott McTominay as that target, right? So we shall see how that is going to progress. Elsewhere, we see that Chelsea and Juventus are exploring a deal for United winger Jadon Sancho, because that is another one that we need out of our team, right? Listen, 2 games in a row, Jadon Sancho traveled with the team. He didn't see a minute of football, right? When Jadon Sancho came back, we heard like, okay, Jadon Sancho and Ten Hag, they're basically, put water under the bridge situation. They hashed it out. and everything is hunky dory. But it doesn't look that way because your boy Sancho, he still hasn't seen much game time. The last couple of games he traveled with the team, but he was not seen, right? So what we're seeing now is apparently Chelsea and Juventus are the ones that are exploring a deal for the 24-year-old winger in Jadon Sancho, right? So let's dig into more of that. Now, talking about we're going to talk about more on Jadon Sancho in a little bit, but today I saw this. This was very interesting for me, right? Rio Ferdinand, right, on his YouTube channel, he had said something because, okay, a lot of us, right, we like Scott McTominay, but the problem is Scott McTominay, you can only bring him to do a certain task, right? Last minute or last 10 minutes, you need a goal, you chuck him in, and then maybe he can get you a goal. He did save us a lot last season, right? He saved Ten Hag's skin a lot last season. But we want a midfielder who can actually contribute in the entire game. For example, if we need to, for example, we need to rest Kobe Mainu, we need to rest, for example, Mount, or we need to rest Casemiro. We need that midfielder who can cover in the long portion of that game, not just when you need him to do a task, you chuck him in and then he does the task. No. So basically, that is a reason why Ten Hag, even though Ten Hag loved Scott McTominay, he did not want to leave him because Scott McTominay gives Ten Hag that option in the back pocket. We saw even in the last game when we played against Brighton, right? He pulled Bruno and he threw in Scott McTominay, hoping that he's going to get us the goal. But of course, we saw when Scott McTominay came into the game, he really does not give us much, right? So it doesn't work, and that's why we're trying to offload him. So, and also, even though Ten Hag likes Scott McTominay, likes him as a backup, throw of the dice thing, Ineos have basically told Ten Hag, listen, man, you got to choose here. I know you want UGARTE, but we need to sell because Man United, we don't have money like that to just go and just buy players. We need outgoings, that way we can bring new blood, new prowess in that midfield, right? And that new player coming in is Manuel Ugarte. So I'm going to circle back to what Rio Ferdinand had to say. And I quote, he said, look, Ferdinand said this, I look at Scott McTominay and not every player can be a star. Very true. Standout player, right? But to win a league, you need the likes of John O'Shea. So he's remembering during his time. Like John O'Shea, Wes Brown, Darren Fletcher. You need Julian Alvarez and Man City. True, of course. Julian Alvarez, I know he moved now to Atletico. But yeah, he was a key player. He didn't start a lot of games. But when he came in, he made the difference, right? And then he continues to say, listen, he says this. They might not start every game, but they were huge. You need those players, and most of them know the DNA of the club. True, Scott McTominay is a through and through Mancunian, born and bred. He knows the team through and through. That's why a lot of managers who came before him, they love Scott McTominay. Mourinho, Solskjaer, Louis van Gaal, they loved it because he's through and through. You cannot fake it. You cannot fake how much you love a team. This guy loves Manchester United, right? So Rio is saying, listen, the most of them, they know the DNA of the club, especially ones who have come through the academy, right? There's a lot to be said for that, right? It's really, from his quote, he said, listen, it really doesn't sit well with me to replace him, and then going to spending like 30 to 40 million and give another player like 150 a week, right? Because so basically here he's saying, listen, he would rather him staying warm the bench. And when it comes to a player that you want to warm the bench and he had no problem, Scott McTominay was one of those, right? He didn't mind, just chilling, warming the bench. Whenever he's called on, he will jump in, right? So Rio continues and says, listen, it's not going to be cheap and it's a gamble, right? Talking about bringing in the likes of Ugarte, right? You don't know what you're going to get, whereas with McTominay, you know what you're getting. He might not always be a 9 out of 10, but invariably he's a solid 7 out of 10, and sometimes he will be an 8 out of 10 and get you a goal. Okay, that is, you know, valid points. Valid points for Rio, and Rio's our legend, right? He knows what he's talking about, but still, I don't agree with Rio here because you got to think about the big picture. How much does this player really help us? Helps the whole team, right? Yeah, you can chuck him here and there, but ideally, especially in the midfield, we want players that can really contribute more than what he has done so far, right? So basically, what Rio was saying there, I'm like, listen, I agree with you, Rio, but we definitely have to move him on. That way we can, bring in some much needed funds and reinvest into the team, right? Okay. So you guys let me know in the comments below if you agree with Rio what he said about Scott McTominay. Do you guys want Scott McTominay to stay or you'd rather him go? Personally, I think a good majority of Man United fans, we are okay. We're happy that Scott McTominay is leaving because actually we're going to be able to bring in midfielders or players that can actually contribute more than what Scott McTominay can give us, right? All right, so let's talk about this other situation here when it comes to Jadon Sancho, right? Basically, Jadon Sancho, we know that he has already made a point clear to Ten Hag and Ineos that he wants to exit, right? And we know he's not really part of Ten Hag's plans, and he needs to leave, right? Problem is this: he gets paid too much, salary is very too high, and not a lot of teams can afford it, right? Luckily, we see that what is this? Monkey Clan, what's going on ahead? Smash a like as you're coming in. Welcome, welcome. People, smash a like, hit the subscribe if you haven't done so. All right, so Jadon Sancho is subject of talks between the Red Devils and Juventus this summer, right? Formal interest is there from Juventus, right? There's a formal interest from Juventus. They really want him. And apparently, a private jet was scheduled to leave for Turin today to start discussing the final details of the move, right? United are happy to sell with an option on the left. United are happy to sell with options on the left and right ahead of him at Old Trafford. So United will, they're good to let him go. Monkey Clan, what's going on, Monkey Clan? Yo, huge shout out for you, man. Thanks for joining, right? If you haven't hit that like, do it. If you haven't subscribed, smash the subscribe, sir. All right, so United are willing to sell him. So so basically right now is United, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to offload Jadon Sancho. Also, he doesn't want to be there. He wants to go. There's only a few days left for him to exit. So we shall see how that is going to transpire. Hopefully this jet that was ready to go to Turin, I'm sure the negotiation team, Dan Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox, if that was the plan, hopefully they should be in Italy now and discussing final details of Jadon Sancho's exit, because that will be something that a lot of us will champion. Now, let me ask you this, guys. Do you want, because options are this. For example, if Juventus cannot afford to buy him outright, because that's what we want, would you loan Jadon Sancho to Juventus? Or if you don't loan him, would you do this here, a swap deal with Chelsea for Raheem Sterling? Well, so question is this: would you loan Jadon Sancho to Juventus, right, with an option to buy, or swap him with Raheem Sterling? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. All right, there's only 4 days to go, so listen, decisions have to be made ASAP, right? So Raheem Sterling, right? The reason I'm saying Raheem Sterling from Chelsea is because Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho swap deal between Chelsea and Man United. It's not even basically the craziest thing. these things could have happened because, you know, stuff like that has happened before. But again, as a Man United fan, I honestly I do not want to see Sterling at Manchester United. This guy is an ex Man City, ex Liverpool player coming to Man United. Forget about it. First of all, this guy, Raheem Sterling, coming to Man United, you know, basically you're going to be swapping one problem for another, right? Jadon Sancho created issues. You know, even if he was to leave, then you bring in another issue with Raheem Sterling because first of all, he's going to demand a huge salary. That's one. Secondly, again, ex Man City, ex Liverpool, enemies, enemies. We don't want him. We don't want him to be donning that Man United jersey, man. Nah, man. No. Okay, I would rather take the cash, or if the way Chelsea was rolling, they say, oh, they could actually offer us Sterling and what's his name, Ben Chilwell. I was like, are you kidding me? Sterling and Ben Chilwell. First of all, Ben Chilwell, yes, we need a left back. This dude cannot stay healthy for nothing, right? So imagine now, you know, Man United does a deal for Sterling, Ben Chilwell, and then Sancho goes the opposite side. That will be Ineos. They've done good things, bringing in what four transfers so far: Xerxes, Euro, the late Mazraoui, and now they're gonna bring in UGARTE. If they did that, if they do the swap deal for Sancho with Sterling and Chilwell, that will negate everything good they've done. And I'm sure a lot of us in the community will be, listen, we will go after Ineos, man, because that will be a disaster. Because what's the point of bringing the likes of Chilwell to the team, knowing that this guy is going to be injured 90% of the time, right? So he's not going to help you anyway. And Sterling, yes, he can play on the wing, on the right wing, but you know we don't really need him. Okay, and even Sancho, if Sancho leaves, it's not like we missed him when he was at Dortmund, right? So honestly, I'll take the cash, right? According to Fabrizio Romano, because ideally for me, listen, if it was anything, I would swap Jadon Sancho with Federico Chiesa, right? But according to reports, it looks like Liverpool have you know agreed a deal to sign Chiesa. So forget about Chiesa. So right now, the Jadon Sancho situation is just going to be you know basically him going to Juventus, and you know and maybe we get you know some cash. Maybe United is asking for like 40 million. Hopefully we can get something like that. But another thing, what I would say is this: right now we don't want to do loans, meaning that okay, you're gonna go for a season to Juventus, and then at the end of the season you're gonna be our problem again. We don't want that, and Ineos doesn't want that. Basically, they want a loan with an obligation to buy, right? So it means if he goes to any loan for Juventus, right, at the end of this season, you Juventus, you have to buy it, right? That's what they're trying to do now with Sancho. They don't want to do the whole game of sending them on loan, and then at the end of the season, he's becoming our problem again. Just like the way we dealt with when he went to Dortmund. When he went to Dortmund, we thought, hey, everything is going to work out. Boom, he's back. Still our problem. Now we're trying to figure it out how to deal with him with 4 days left to go before the transfer window shuts down. So we don't want that, right? So I hope you know, I hope Ineos this time they find a permanent solution for Jadon Sancho. That way, you know what, we're done with it, right? So we shall see what happens there. Other transfer news: Manchester United Hannibal deal. Basically, Hannibal Mejbri, right, is a here we go from Fabrizio Romano. We see that he's saying that Hannibal Mejbri has joined Burnley on a permanent deal, right? Initially, we thought it's going to be a loan with an obligation to buy, but Hannibal Mejbri is a here we go to Burnley. Manchester United Football Club requested the change, so funds will be received earlier. Basically, initially we thought we were going to have like a loan with an obligation, but now it's a permanent deal. So United say, you know what, we'll take the cash, and then they added some add-ons later on. They added like sell-on clause for him. So you know, if he goes to Burnley and lights it up, and somebody else picks him, we're gonna get a chunk of that, some of that money for him, right? Which is good. That's what United has been doing with all the sales that we've done so far, right? Most of the sales we've, you know, especially the academy kids, Kambwala, and all the ones that have left. We have attached that the sell-on clause, because listen, most of these players, they're decent. Like Pelistri, they're decent, but of course they didn't work for us. But whenever they go to these other teams, they can light it up. So hopefully, by then we can get some money for some of these players, right? So I like it. I like the fact that we are offloading some of these players, because listen, we need money. We have 4 days left to go for this transfer window to shut down. So hopefully we can have the Jadon Sancho, Scott McTominay deal finalized in the next maybe a day. By tomorrow, maybe we can get a here we go for UGARTE, because in order for UGARTE to come in, we need Scott McTominay to be out the door. And talking about UGARTE, Man United have a broad agreement in place with PSG for the signing of Manuel UGARTE, right? The overall fee is worth in the region of 50 million. Discussions about the structure of the deal are ongoing, right? So again, we know the UGARTE situation is pretty much done. Basically it's done. Right now we're just waiting for Scott McTominay to finalize his portion of it, and then UGARTE will be a Man United player, right? So let's see what else we have here on Manuel UGARTE. I see that this is from Sky Sports, I believe. Negotiations between Man United and PSG for Manuel UGARTE are practically closed, people. UGARTE will leave for United in the next few hours after small details have been ironed out. So, guys, we most likely, hopefully by tomorrow, we may get that here we go for Manuel UGARTE, because there's small details here and there to be finalized. One of the other deals is Scott McTominay is due to be receiving a payoff, right? Which is very interesting. We're selling a player, but also Scott McTominay, whatever these contracts these players they've got is for him to leave. He needs a payoff. Something like a compensation package or something to say, hey, thank you for your service. Here you go. Take this money. So basically, that's what we're working with when it comes to Scott McTominay. And again, with Scott McTominay being an academic graduate, the sale of Scott McTominay to Napoli would represent pure profit. And that is important for Manchester United compliance with Premier League and UEFA financial rules, right? Again, as Fabrizio says, Scott McTominay has already accepted Napoli and their project. Details to be discussed about his payoff, similar to Wan-Bissaka. This is the main part to fix. Personal terms are no problem. Club-to-club agreement done with Manchester United for 30 million fee plus add-ons, right? And a sell-on clause, right? This is basically what we are talking about, right? Let's see if we'll see anything else with Manuel UGARTE here. Manchester United has set to close UGARTE deal, and it can be now a permanent transfer. Initially, we thought it's going to be a loan. According to Fabrizio, this could be a permanent transfer. If all goes to plan with Scott McTominay to Napoli, Man United will proceed with the permanent move from UGARTE as PSG wanted. All right, UGARTE only wants Man United, and he's ready to travel. Basically, Manuel UGARTE has his bags by the door, ready to go. He keeps on checking with the agent. Yo, can we go? Can I go to the airport now? Can I go to the airport now? So he's just waiting for that. Hopefully that can be finalized. That way, we put this UGARTE thing to bed, because it has been too long. And basically every day we're checking the news to see, okay, is this deal done or what? But it looks like we're getting to the end of it, people. So hang in there. And don't forget, people, smash the like, hit the subscribe if you haven't done so. This is Man United Central. So basically, those are the main news, man. McTominay soon to be exiting. Sancho deal here to Juventus. Hopefully that works out. A loan with an obligation to buy, or Juventus pays us full money. And we shall see. All right, party people. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all for subscribing. Hit that like, sharing that video. You know what? I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace out.